Hey, what's up everybody? Welcome to this quick Unity tutorial that no one asked for, but here it is anyway. Let's break some objects. So, to start, we will just need two assets. The object we are going to break, in my case, this class sprite, beautifully drawn, and the sprite sheet containing the cutout bits of the same object. You can quickly create this in Photoshop or any other image editor of your choice using the lasso tool like this. Cool, let's move on to Unity now. Here, I have set up a simple scene with a background and a ground element. Let's import our assets and drag the glass sprite into the scene. Now, we will need a trigger for when the object breaks, which would usually be hooked to the collision event with the player's attack. But we don't have a player, do we? So we will use a button instead and connect our destruction code to it. Let's make this object into a prefab and open it up. For the glass bits, we will create a child game object that will store all the individual fragments that fall out when the glass breaks. Here comes our second asset. I will set the sprite mode to multiple and open the sprite editor to slice the sprite sheet into individual pieces, since Unity didn't feel like doing that automatically for me. Now, I will drag all the sliced sprites under the child game object. Let's lower the opacity a bit to help with the alignment. The alignment doesn't need to be perfect since the bits will eventually fly out anyway. Okay, we are done setting up all the pieces. Let's reset the opacity, select all the child objects, and make them physics objects by adding the rigid body component. I will also add a polygon collider 2D to each. By default, Unity creates a lots of points for the polygon collider, so you can reduce those manually for better performance. Also, we don't want these bits to collide with each other, so let's put them all on a common layer, then go to Edit, Project Settings under Physics 2D, and disable collisions between the layer and itself. Finally, let's disable this child object for now. We will enable it later through code. Okay, we are done with the base setup. Let's write some code. I will add a new script to our main object and name it ClassBreaker. First, we will need a reference to our class bits container. Next, we will define a function that will be called when we press the break button we just set up. In this function, we will first unparent the container since we are going to destroy its parent, then activate the container game object, and finally destroy the main object. Let's quickly test this in Unity. Assign the container reference and connect our function to the button's on-click listener. Now, if we hit play and click the button, we see all the class bits fall to the ground. That's cool, but not very exciting. Let's add some life to it. Back here, let's add a method to apply some forces to the glass bits. Right here. We will be adding a directional force plus a torque for rotation to make the bits fly out. Here, we are going through all child game objects of our container, filtering for ones with rigid body attached to it. Next, we will choose a random direction to apply the force, then get a random force value using a range. Next, we'll generate a random torque value and just apply these to the object's rigid body. We'll define all the variables we used up here. Okay, now let's check if this is working. We can see when the object breaks, the bits are all flying out, which looks quite good. You can also play around with the rigid body of these objects to get a feel you like. I like to increase the gravity scale. As you can see, they now fall closer to each other. There is one thing to notice. The bits just stay there forever. That might be fine, but if you have a lot of breakable objects in the scene, it's better to clean them up. Let's make them slowly fade out of existence. I will add a new script to each fragment object. In this script, we will define a fade duration and a timer to keep track of elapsed time. We will grab the sprite render component to modify its alpha value as the time passes. In update, we will increment our timer using time.delta time. In our case, it doesn't matter if we use update or fix update for this, since we are only changing a sprite's alpha. But if we are doing physics update based on time, it's generally better to use fix update. When the timer exceeds the fade time, we will simply destroy the game object. Otherwise, we will calculate the new alpha value using a normalized formula that gives us a value between 0 and 1 based on the elapsed time and the total fade duration. Then we will apply this alpha to the sprite render. And it's done. If we go back to Unity and run the game, the glass bits will slowly fade out after breaking. So that's it for this video. Thanks for watching. I'm using similar methods to create breakable objects in my game I'm currently working on, which will be an endless runner. I'm also trying to acquire some game art skills by following some online courses. The latest one was this from Skills here. And I used the techniques from this course to make all these assets. Next, I will be following more of these tutorials with the goal of reworking all the visuals in my game, since right now it doesn't look good. So, if you want to follow along with my progress, make sure to drop a follow. Till then, have fun.